The 15-year-old was taken to juvenile detention, and both 16 and 18-year-old Nicholas Tubbs are in the Tuscaloosa County Jail with no bond. And Tuscaloosa has now set a grim new milestone. Our homicide rate is at 17 for the year, surpassing our old record of 16 set back in 2006. And we're only 3/4 of the way through this year. We've had 11 homicides in all of last year. The latest homicide was discovered over the weekend in Stillman Court Apartments off 17th Street. No one has been arrested in this case. A coal miner has died at the Oak Grove mine in Bessemer. The United Mine Workers of America confirmed 52-year-old Jose Lara died in an incident overnight. He leaves behind a wife and 3 children. Operations at the mine and plant have been shut down and will remain suspended while the UMWA safety team works to determine a cause of the incident. This is the 9th coal mine fatality of the year and the first in Alabama. And fall festivities, brisk weather, and pumpkin spice are all things fall brings, but one not-so-pleasant addition is flu season. WVUA 23's Lyric Franklin joins us live in the newsroom with why it's important to protect yourself with flu shots. Lyric?
Good evening, Laura. Unfortunately, flu season is here, but you can go ahead and be proactive and get your flu shot to make for a much more enjoyable fall season.
Dry coughs, body aches, and congestion are all symptoms that you may experience if you get the flu. To prevent this from happening, nursing student Margot Norwood recommends you get your flu shot as illnesses spread very quickly.
The fall is kind of when the flu is most prevalent. Getting the flu shot once a year would be really sufficient. And then also, if people have had the flu, you can still get the flu shot as long as you haven't had symptoms in a week.
Norwood believes it is important to educate people on why they are getting the vaccine, as there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding the flu shot. The main thing to take away is that the virus is doing more good than harm.
A lot of people have misconceptions about the flu shot. They think that if they get the vaccine, it gives them the flu, but really it's kind of like our job to kind of educate people. You know, the flu or any type of vaccine that you receive is just a way to help your body kind of fight off that virus in the future.
If you decide against the vaccine to prevent getting and spreading the flu, it is important to continuously wash your hands to prevent the spread of infection and staying inside if you are not feeling well. As soon as you start to feel bad, take medication specific to what you are feeling.
Sometimes you can treat kind of like your symptoms. So say you have fever, you know, taking Tylenol, or if you're having like cold symptoms, coughing, runny nose, just kind of treating the symptoms are ways that you can kind of help.
The flu shot is a weakened piece of the virus, so if you do experience brief sickness, it is important to note that it's just your body's way of learning how to fight off the disease in case you do get the flu.
If you do get your flu shot, experts advise that you get it in your dominant arm, as in order for soreness to go away, it needs movement. Live in the newsroom, Lyric Franklin, WVUA 23 News.
And it's going to be a big weekend in Tuscaloosa for business owners. An estimated 200,000 people are planning to visit Tuscaloosa for the Alabama-Georgia game. They will bring with them an increase in revenue compared to other game day weekends. Crowds usually start coming to Tuscaloosa on Friday, but people may start coming in earlier because of the hurricane. Chamber of Commerce President Kyle South says the game will have the biggest economic impact this season compared to any other game.
A normal game weekend, $5 to $7 million. As far as a huge conference opponent, that number inflates up to $8 to $12 million local impact for those weekends.
South says give yourself more time in traffic when going to eat and during security at the stadium, because Tuscaloosa will be way more crowded than normal game days. And with game day just days away, Tuscaloosa gears up for a heavy fan base within the city's bars and restaurants. WVUA 23's Jalen Barron tells us more about what this weekend will bring.
Football, fun, and a whole lot of people coming for one of the most highly anticipated games of the regular season. But with the Tide and the Bulldogs going head-to-head, that means fans will be flooding into the bars of Tuscaloosa. Safety is the top priority for city leaders and local establishments that will host fans for the big football weekend. The high-profile game is expected to generate more than $25 million, according to Mayor Walt Maddox. Fire Marshal Patrick Stein says safety within bars and restaurants will be extremely important leading up to game day.
So what we do is when we determine that a building is overreached occupancy, we will count the number of patrons, and if it is determined that they are overcrowded and it is an unsafe condition, then typically what we do is we will then issue a citation and up to a 24-hour closure of the establishment.
Steins urges people to pay attention and be aware of traffic patterns, safety measures for the stadium, and double-check media platforms for updated safety precautions. Bars across the city will utilize apps like Line Leap to allow less wait times, lower cover prices, and even the opportunity to skip lines. The city hopes for a positive and safe outcome, even if there's lots of barking Georgia fans. Local in Tuscaloosa, Jalen Barron, WVUA 23 News.
And DCH Regional Medical Center is also preparing for the big game. Their staff has been planning for months for UA's football season. They work closely with the university and Tuscaloosa City first responders to be prepared for any potential emergencies. But this week's game brings a huge number of fans and visitors from Georgia, along the visit from presidential candidate Donald Trump. And DCH wants to make sure they're ready if needed.
So we start with increasing our staffing, and it's not just isolated to the emergency department. We actually utilize the entire system. So we'll have acute care nurses come down and help. We have outpatient nurses that come, OR, ICU. We have staff from all over the system that will come down and assist us in taking care of the higher volume.
DCH will have medical tents in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and a DCH medical professional will be driving a golf cart around the tailgate area and stadium in case anyone needs assistance. And Tuscaloosa residents voted against a property tax increase that would benefit students. How will educators handle budget cuts? And a documentary on Gene Stallings premieres. What kind of legacy he left behind? That's coming up next. And the final results are not in yet, but unofficial results from Tuesday night show Tuscaloosa residents voted down the property tax increase. The money from that new tax would have been used to fund Tuscaloosa City schools to help expand academic programs and improve school security. It would have raised millions of dollars for TCS annually. Superintendent Dr. Mike Daria says even though the school system did not get the results they were looking for, they will continue to fight for the future of Tuscaloosa City schools.
We're set up for the next 2 years financially. So right now we are just focusing on today and we're focusing on our plans moving forward. We've got to have some honest, good dialogue here as a school system and as a community about our moving forward. But that doesn't change our direction. You know, our standard remains high and our mission remains clear, and we're not backing off that.
Of the 10,700 voters who turned out on Tuesday night, 53% voted against the tax increase, with 47% of voters having voted in favor of it. And the documentary on head coach Gene Stallings is premiering, and it's important to recognize the impact he had on the UA community. WVUA's Callie Cassidy explains.
Former UA head coach Gene Stallings will be highlighted tomorrow night in the premiere of Do Right, the Stallings Standard, a documentary on his impact at the University of Alabama. The documentary was produced by two UA professors, Chandra Clark and Michael Bruce.
There was no way to do a documentary about Coach Gene Stallings and his family without talking about the impact that their family has had.
In his time at the University of Alabama, Stallings made a lasting imprint on his players, colleagues, and the entire UA community. The documentary shows the involvement Stallings had on the RISE program at UA. The RISE program provides services based on recommended needs of young children with diverse abilities and their families. When Coach Stallings arrived to the university in 1990, he immediately became a strong promoter of the RISE program in support of his son, John Mark, who was born with Down syndrome. Stallings helped raise money so families can become a part of the program. Through his involvement, Stallings was able to make RISE a national name and led to the development of multiple RISE programs across the country.
We are so fortunate to have him as someone that inspires us, encourages us, and to be honest, reminds us what's important every day and why our mission is so important.
Local in Tuscaloosa, Callie Cassidy, WVUA 23 News.
At the premiere, a portion of the proceeds from the event will be donated to the RISE Center.
And carefully watching Hurricane Helene in the Gulf of Mexico. More on that track in your local forecast up next. Hear my forecast every day on 96.1 The Blessing. And start you off live with the Algo traffic camera. This is overlooking Mobile Bay. This is that I-10 corridor down in South Alabama. And a bit of breeze down there. That is an offshore wind. And the good news is no major hazards from Hurricane Helene for Alabama's Gulf Coast. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment. Let's go to our Brian Denny camera in Tuscaloosa. And this will be the happening place over the weekend as Georgia comes to town. Georgia Bulldogs taking on Brian Denny Stadium's Alabama Crimson Tide at Brian Denny. Tipped to right now 70 degrees in Tuscaloosa. Light north winds look off towards that north direction tonight. The weather awfully quiet out there. No rain. And in fact, what you see on the radar, that's all ground clutter across central and west Alabama. All the rain back into Georgia right now. That's where it's going to stay for the moment. Again, for our area, things are looking pretty quiet. Let's talk tropics. Here is our hurricane. This is Hurricane Helene now in the Gulf of Mexico to the north of the Yucatan Peninsula. That's north of Cancun now, clearly in the Gulf of Mexico, becoming well defined tonight. A hurricane out there. And this storm will continue to strengthen over the coming hours. Latest update from the National Hurricane Center has winds at 85 miles per hour, moving north at 9. It's made that turn earlier today. We talked about that happening as it gets caught up in this up air trough that's to our northwest. And again, the path of this storm comes right to that Big Bend region of Florida around Apalachicola towards between there and Cedar Key. We got Tallahassee that sits right here. The center of the storm is going to move right over Tallahassee as a Category 4 hurricane. That is something that is truly devastating for that large area. Again, for the Panama City area, we'll see tropical storm force winds Thursday evening into Thursday night for areas like Destin there and points west towards Mobile and Baldwin counties. I do not expect any damaging winds in terms of tropical storm force or stronger. However, it will be rather breezy. And the track of the storm moves northward into western Georgia. Thursday night, still a strong tropical storm north of Atlanta, almost to Chattanooga, Tennessee, 60-mile-an-hour winds at that point. That is just unbelievable how much strength this storm continues that far inland. Keep in mind, if this were over Alabama, this would be similar to what happened back in 2004 Hurricane Ivan. They'll see that type of damage into Georgia. Widespread tree and power line damage is expected. Hurricane warnings very far inland into central Georgia there. Just south of Atlanta Metro. Again, tropical storm warnings for the rest of the state. We've got tropical storm warnings for the eastern row of Alabama counties. There are hurricane warnings down for the Dothan area, but again, for West Alabama, no major impact from this. This is going to be clearly a Georgia and Florida storm in terms of the primary issues, but again, could see some wind gusts around 10, 20, 25 miles an hour for West Alabama. Most of the rain with Helene will stay east of I-65. Now, we'll get some rain over West Alabama in spots, but again, the core impact's clearly going to be on East Alabama and then North Alabama by the time we get into Friday morning. Some lingering showers still a possibility. The rain chance gets out of here by the time we get into the weekend. So I think by Saturday and Sunday, which is good news for the football game at Bryant-Denny happening. Also the Auburn game down at Jordan-Hare Stadium on Saturday. No weather hazards expected from that. We'll be in the lower 80s on Sunday. Next week looking pretty nice with those pleasant overnight temperatures, the low 60s during the overnight hours, daytime highs. Laura will be back in the mid-80s next week. So no extreme heat anytime soon. Obviously, we're watching Helene down in the Gulf of Mexico. That'll be a big story coming up in the coming days.
Right. And is there any advice you have for fans traveling out of state for the game this weekend?
So for people coming into Tuscaloosa from Georgia, we've been talking about this. This is going to be a unique situation. And Gary, I know for you too, fans traveling from Georgia, there's going to be widespread power outages, trees down. It's going to be some big problems. So for people driving to Alabama from Georgia, come early if you can.
All right, well, Gary Harris is in for a look at sports. Gary?
Hey, guys, busy night coming up. Alabama football continues to prepare for the Saturday night showdown against Georgia. The Braves and Mets are put on hold by Hurricane Helene, and Alabama volleyball was in position to shock 20th ranked Tennessee tonight in Knoxville. Did the Crimson Tide pull off the upset? We'll let you know next in sports. Rain today forced Alabama football inside for practice today. There's quarterback Jalen Milroe and defensive back Keon Saab as they get ready to play the Georgia Bulldogs on Saturday night. Let's check in on the defensive linemen. I love watching those big guys. Tim Keenan is one of the better interior defensive linemen in the SEC. Tim Smith right there with him. Those are veteran guys leading the inside of that defensive line. Jaheim Otis, another one. Alabama's got a lot of talent, a lot of size, a lot of athleticism, a lot of depth on that defensive front. There's Pickens County product Jamarian Latham. So Alabama and Georgia, 6:30 on Saturday night inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. And there's defensive coordinator Kane Womack looking at his guys get ready for the weekend. And good evening, everybody. I'm Gary Harris. Alabama's offense is explosive, led by quarterback Jalen Milroe. But the Crimson Tide offense will have its hands full on Saturday night with the Georgia defense that is one of the most athletic and physical in the country.
I think they're excellent. I think when you look at them, I think there's, lots of things that stand out, but I think first and foremost, they have quality players, I think at all three levels, long, fast, explosive players. And then on top of that, I think the coaching staff there does a fantastic job. They're excellent coaches. They have a great system in place. They have years together running that system. And so it's a great challenge. And, they're excellent.
Well, the Crimson Reserve, a 176-acre, $47 million Alabama men's and women's golf training center, was recently completed. The off-campus facility is located along Kicker Road, south of Jack Warner Parkway and west of 25th Avenue Northeast. Tide TV's Chris England provides us with a closer look at this one-of-a-kind facility.
Pretty cool, isn't it, that we're all here today. A lot of hard work by a lot of people here to make this become a reality. This is a separator. How do you separate yourself from your competition, right? The decisions you make as an individual, what you do to develop yourself, how do you separate yourself? Because this is competition in our world and what we do. This is a separator for our golf program. So this is really, really exciting. Do not take this for granted, and it's going to lead to great things today. It's going to lead to great things in our future as well. So congratulations to everybody, and let's celebrate this thing.
Insane, literally insane. Immediate thought, it's amazing.
And even outside is so pretty, it's so good. I knew it was going to be good, but this is wow.
Being a part of this team, I am able to practice here, and that's something that is an honor and something that, honestly, you got to pinch yourself a little bit because it's like, wow, I'm so thankful to be here.
SEC volleyball tonight. The Crimson Tide of Coach Rashunda Reed in Knoxville to take on Tennessee. Tennessee, number 20 in the country. Alabama, a big underdog, but the Tide came to play. They pushed the Vols to 5 sets Wednesday in Knoxville. They won this crucial 4th set right there with that point. So they lost the first set 25-17, won the second set 27-25, lost the third set 25-20, then won that 4th set 25-13, but came up short in that 5th and deciding set. A poor serve ended it. They lose 15-11, so they fall 3-2. The Crimson Tide resumes SEC play Sunday down on the plains of Auburn when they face the Tigers at 4 p.m. Central on the SEC Network. Still a valiant effort tonight for Alabama in defeat. Well, the final 2 games of a crucial series between the New York Mets and Atlanta Braves were postponed Wednesday by heavy rains ahead of Hurricane Helene. Now a wild card race that seemed headed to the final day of the regular season may require an extra day and a doubleheader at that. The regular season was set to end Sunday, but the Mets are now scheduled to return to Atlanta Monday for a pair of games 40 minutes apart that could determine who heads to the playoffs. And the playoffs begin on Tuesday. So, Laura, this is not ideal. But Mother Nature, she has caused some issues here. So the Mets and Braves are going to play on Monday. Then whoever advances to the playoffs will have to turn around and play the very next day. Yeah.
And, Gary, what does this weekend's game mean in chances for Heisman for these quarterbacks?
Well, obviously, you got 2 of the best quarterbacks in the country, in Jalen Milroe and Carson Beck. The winner of the game and the quarterback that plays the best is just going to be elevated even more in the Heisman race, and the loser probably will take a little bit of a hit. So you're trying to win the football game first and foremost, but Heisman Trophy hopes could be on the line to some degree on Saturday night.
All right, well, we'll be right back.
And got high school football happening Friday night. Weather looking okay. There may be a lingering light shower, mostly north of I-20. Temperatures in the 70s. Alabama taking on Georgia at Bryant-Denny. Really nice weather for kickoff. 6:30, 77. The rain's out of here. And for the Auburn game, Auburn taking on Oklahoma. Nice weather down at Jordan-Hare Stadium. No hazards at all by Saturday.
All right. Well, that's our show. We'll see you again. Good night.